In this video, I want to share with you the two things that have completely changed around the way that I look at the human body, the way I treat the human body, the way that I understand neuroplasticity. So let's jump right into it. The first one was in 2011, I was diagnosed with venous thoracic outlet syndrome. And because of that, I had a blood clot in my subclavian vein. And then they had to do a first rib resection. You can still see the scar. And the other notable thing here is you can really see the collateral circulation that came from that too. Now, what happened was I woke up one morning and my right arm was twice the size of my left arm. And at first, I thought I had an infection. I knew something wasn't right. So I went to the doctor and I found out that I had venous thoracic outlet syndrome. So the subclavian vein, which runs between your first rib and collarbone, had a 4-inch blood clot. And because of that, they had to go in, they took out my first rib, they took out my anterior middle scalene, and then also they did a subclavian vein graft. And what that means is that they took out a section of my subclavian vein and they put a cadaveric one in. And quickly after that experience, the cadaver vein closed off. So it essentially clotted off the same way. And as a result, my body had to live without this major vein highway that returns blood back to my heart. As a result of that, I had to witness or I got to experience the gradual process that how our body sort of recirculates or gets blood back to the heart without the major vein. So, and you might be able to see it a little bit here, but as in the right light, you can kind of see how all this collateral circulation, and then underneath here, my axillary vein has significantly enlarged to accommodate all the new blood flow. The other thing I noticed was that without the stability of my first rib here now at the SC joint, here's my collarbone, here's my first rib. If I lose the stability right there, then I have a lot more joint play at the SC joint because of the lack of inherent stability. Now, the take home point of that is it took time and it took strengthening, but the stronger I got through my thoracic muscles, my core, and then the muscles of my scapula, I could control that movement without too much pain or pressure here. And then as that got stronger and stronger, and then this joint, now there's a lot of arthritis at the SC joint. Well, that before was felt as kind of a grinding, pulling sensation when I would do pull-ups or lat pull downs. Now my body can adapt and accommodate to that. So the first thing was watching the collateral circulation increase, watching my body get stronger, having to deal with a change of anatomy on the right side, but it completely healed itself over a matter of time. It took patience, it took gradual training, it took a lot of strength training, and it took me the path of becoming more introspective and aware of what's triggering my symptoms. So becoming aware of the pattern of aggravating and alleviating factors. So that's the first main thing. The second thing is when I was going through my residency program, I partially tore my ACL and MCL on my left knee. So I was riding a mechanical bull with my wife, and we got thrown off, and it torqued my knee in a way that partially tore my left ACL and my left MCL. I chose not to get surgery on it. I continued doing activities kind of in a gradual fashion. And then a few years later, that knee started shifting or sliding out of place. So almost like if you would do a Lockman's test, it felt like that would be positive because as I would go down and do a deep squat position, I would get to a certain range where I would lose quad tension and my knee would shift or sort of clunk out of place. Now, I thought that was the fixed state of how my knee was going to be. And so I could still function at a fairly high level. I could do squats, lunges, lateral agility type stuff. But at certain ranges, my knee would just slide out of place. And then it would feel like I would have to quickly guard or catch myself. It was unstable. Now, about a year ago, I started doing jujitsu, and jujitsu has a lot of hamstring strengthening where I'm working on controlling the knee flexion position. And after a few months of doing jujitsu and realizing that my hamstrings were getting a lot stronger, then I started noticing that as I would go down into those deep squat positions where before I would get this sliding catching sensation in my knee, now I could start to handle that range of motion because the balance between my quadriceps and my hamstrings was more symmetrical. And so now I can go down and do a deep squat or hang in a deep squat position without any issues. So I witnessed the process of what I before thought was inherent instability in the knee joint to watching how if I strengthen the muscles gradually kind of in the ranges where it felt the least safe, but I'm doing that under control, under support, then I can strengthen the knee in ways that no longer create that inherent instability. So for me, with both of these examples, one, watching how the body adapts and accommodates to significant trauma. It was an 11-hour surgery here. So watching the process of my body adapt and heal to that was remarkable. And then the second one was taking something that I had previously thought was just a built-in instability in the system by adding strength, by gradually challenging the range of motion where things felt unstable. That completely changed around my viewpoint of what's going to be a permanent lasting thing in the body versus what's something that can change and adapt. And those two things have completely changed how I practice, and they've completely changed my viewpoint of the healing capacity of the human body.